the newsroom. It's indeed time for the France 24 debate. It's a new day in France.
Starting Monday, the declarations of assets by all members of the government will be made public.
Tant d'années où des affaires ont émaillé la vie publique. Trop d'affaires. La dernière révèle une fois encore.
Moralise politics. The now former budget minister, the man in charge of rooting out tax cheats, Jérôme Cahuzac, owning up to secret Swiss and Singaporean accounts. Hollande's measures enough to quell the political fire? Well, a raucous question and answer session for the Socialists this Wednesday in Parliament, who after less than a year in power have hit record lows in opinion polls. But politicians aren't the only ones in the firing line. The banks, where the politicians put their money, are also in the eye of the storm. The Cahuzac scandal coming amid the botched bailout of Cyprus's bloated banks and the offshore leaks revelations on savings that are often stashed legally far from the taxman. Can politics be moralized? And is France really any worse than elsewhere? Today in the France 24 debate, how to stop the rot of corruption in politics. With us to talk about it, Socialist Member of Parliament Valérie Rabault, welcome to the show. Welcome as well to, she is the author, she's from the Green Party and the author of Democracy Near You for a Sixth Republic of Territories. Agnès MICHEL, welcome back to the France 24 debate. And welcome as well to Peter Gumbel, whose upcoming book will be titled in English, France Has Got Talent, and it's about the elites who go to the exclusive grande école schools of higher learning. But it's not all positive spin in your book. We'll talk about that perhaps a little bit later on. The France 24 debate, where you can always join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Now, the French president unveiling a plan this Wednesday that sets up, among other things, a panel to oversee politics, spells out what conflicts of interest there are for cabinet members, and forces banks to declare transactions with all of their affiliates abroad. More from Nicholas Rushworth.
It's the week after this man, the former budget minister Jérôme Cahuzac, admitted to having a secret bank account. The socialist government since then has had its back up against the wall. The president, François Hollande, and his prime minister, Jean-Marc vowed to moralise political life. And the first round of cabinet talks on legislation for that is this Wednesday. The goal is transparency to root out inconsistencies.
On nage dans l'absurde.
We are in an absurd situation, which explains the scandal in some part. An MP is not allowed to lecture at a university, which is harmless, but can have major companies as clients in their address book without having to say who they are. That's dangerous. That's bad for democracy.
French MPs are susceptible to a conflict of interest. They can hold several political offices at once and can even remain as doctors or lawyers.
We have an approach on this side, telling the truth, moralization of political life. You won't find business lawyers in this government who are also MPs. I am a lawyer, and I resigned that position.
MPs under the legislation will have to respect stiff new disclosure standards. Several French politicians have already made their worldly possessions public. The entire cabinet has to do so by next Monday. Another tack for the government is to crack down on tax havens by beefing up Europe-wide cooperation. The question remains whether the moralisation legislation will be enough to quell anger. One recent poll showed that 1 out of 3 French people want Parliament to be dissolved. And Hollande has the lowest popularity ratings of any president at this point in his presidency.
All right, and regarding the popularity of the president, the French press this Wednesday describes a glum atmosphere for politicians. Valérie Rabault, a week ago, it was very glum indeed. What's the mood right now inside of the Socialist Party when you see the opinion polls, when you see the public reaction to what's happened?
I think, yes, the week last week was not the best one, I would say, in the political life. Or I think for everyone, but especially maybe for us, for the Socialist Party. It's true that there was Jérôme Cahuzac resigned last week after he admits that he had some money in Switzerland, an account. So it's true that the mood is gloomy, I would say, in within the Socialists this week. But I would say also that the target is there. And we are very focused on where we want to go. And I think I'm sure you know it, but I will tell you again. And this is crucial. And to meet this target, to meet what we want, to decrease unemployment, to create jobs, etc., we need to have no suspicion on political life. This is crucial as well. And this is why François Hollande, the President of the République, made some announcement today.
Those announcements, was it, done in haste? This is something obviously rebounding off the scandal. So what can we say about the measures he's introduced? Critics are saying that, they're going to be hard to enforce if you're just asking cabinet members.
It's true. If you just ask cabinet members or members of parliament to show what they have, we need to have control on it. Because I'm sure Jérôme Cahuzac probably had made all declaration he needed to do. So we need to have control. And I'm always a little bit surprised because in the US, in the UK, you have some control. And so it should not be a surprise in France.
And you're a member of parliament, as is Jacques Myard. I'd like to introduce Jacques Myard, caught in Paris traffic, and that's a little bit late. Mr. Myard, picking up on what Valérie Rabault was just saying, why isn't there more of a vetting process where the parliament is involved? Why don't you guys confirm cabinet members? After all, the prime minister is answerable to you, to the parliamentarians.
Yes, well, in fact, this question of declaration, we do it today. We declare what we have, and we can have controls because, you have the first declaration when you step in, and when you step out, you have a new declaration that you have to do. So if in between there is something abnormal, which is, will strike the vice president of the state council, which is the highest civil servant in this country, who is a judge as well, he will seize the justice. So, in fact, there is nothing really new. Of course, we can do controls and check on every declaration before, the end of the term. But in the case of Cahuzac, as you know, you should have declaration, you should have controls. If you have an account in the Caribbean islands, it will be very difficult for the French administration, the French justice, to prove there is something there. So I think this is not a case of rule. This is a case of honesty, individual honesty. And this is why I was shocked by the president's statement today. Why? Because until now, our socialist, let's say, counterparts have said this is a private item, this is a private crisis, this is a private, affair. And then we see the president who is seizing this and saying, I'm going to answer you, I'm going to have new rules. I'm sorry. If it were a genuine private affair, it should have been dealt with by the prime minister or by any minister. Now it's becoming a state affair because the involvement of the president, there should have been a cordon sanitaire, a sanitary, cordon around the president, and he should not have come in this.
All right, so Peter Gumbel, did the president, was he in panic mode when he made these announcements this Wednesday?
Yes, clearly this has had an enormous impact on confidence in the government and in François Hollande as president, and you can see that in the polls. You can see that you can feel that in the parliament. You can just sense the sort of the unsettled state of politics since this affair blew up. I think there are a couple of things that are important to say. The first thing is that on these issues of transparency, openness about possible conflict of interest and so on, France is actually quite far behind many other countries. If you go, for example, to the website of the British government or the Canadian government, you can see how much not only the ministers earn, but also all the civil servants. You can see even how much they're spending on their daily sort of business in government. And what's interesting is in France, the emphasis has been on sanctions, that there have been penal sanctions for wrongdoing for a long time, which are never enforced because it's too hard to catch anybody except for now. What you find in other countries is the emphasis is placed on prevention, that you have upfront attempts, like in the United States, to vet the ministers. You have not only that, but also all civil servants in many countries, all of them have to sign conflict of interest statements that they are going to be free of conflict of interest, they're going to act in the interest of the government and so on. And what François Hollande has done today is he hasn't even gone near that level of transparency or openness. He's just starting to say ministers will publish their patrimoine, will publish their... So I think what we're seeing here is it's like looking for something symbolic to say, let's address the problem without really attacking these fundamental issues.
Agnès MICHEL, do you agree with Jacques Myard that there isn't really much new in what François Hollande is proposing when it comes to politicians?
No, I think it's the first step. I hope it won't be the last, but it's the first step. And comparing to what have been done before and comparing to other affairs, because it's not new. I mean, you're saying, and that's true, it's between being a personal affair with Cahuzac or something more general. We shouldn't lie to ourselves. It's more general. It's more general because it's possible. It's possible in France because we don't have enough controls. We don't have enough controls on banks. And the last law was too weak. And I hope that these bad circumstances would help this law to be much stronger, because you have to control what people declare, actually, and give them the ways to control, but also control the tools to make this tax evasion. Because it's not only Jérôme Cahuzac. We made an evaluation, and it was about 60 billion a year of tax evasion. So it's not only Jérôme Cahuzac, sorry. It's not only politicians. It's more general. So it means that we have an issue here, and well, we have to do something about politics, but it must be much more general in the conception of what is wrong in France, because sometimes it seems that justice about money issues is not very strong, because it's not such a crime compared to, I don't know, punching in the nose of your neighbor. And so the differences between the sanctions, the controls, is quite...
All right, so it's tough laws, but not the means to enforce them. Jacques Myard, I want your reaction to what the head of your party said, the head of the opposition, who's also been a private attorney. Jean-François Copé was asked about the new disclosure rule.
Naturally, I will submit the day the law becomes enacted. That's normal.
But why not do it now?
Because I'm not going to play into this voyeuristic game and this hypocrisy in which Monsieur Hollande... Monsieur Hollande today wants to throw up a smokescreen, which isn't fooling anyone, to make everyone forget another scandal which has nothing to do with this and is simply about one of his ministers lying and committing tax fraud.
Why is it that politicians... disclosing what they have to avoid potential conflict of interest.
That?
Why is it a voyeuristic game?
I heard that in the United States and in Great Britain, they, striptease all the time. They strip all the time. This is not the way we behave. I don't care how they do in foreign countries. Hold on, young girl. I'm going to tell you one thing. First, you spoke of fiscal evasion, fiscal expatriation. This is worse in Germany. This is worse in the United States. Germany has, a fiscal rule which is more in favor of those who have money. And despite of that, money is getting out. Money is getting out of United States, where you have a Delaware state, which is a fiscal paradise. So I'm not going to have any lesson from anybody on this field. And secondly, you said there is no sanction. I'm sorry, there are sanctions. The point is, we as MPs, should we say we are going to strip? When we are naked, people will say, don't worry, you are still hiding something. And this is why this kind of striptease, which is demanded on politicians and all, is very dangerous, because you show, look, you see how much he's rich, you see, look what he's got, etc. This is demagogy, only demagogy. And I'm not going to receive the fact that the fiscal expatriations that we have around the world, this is a very genuine problem. I agree. I'm ready to combat it. I'm ready to have more, convention with each state. But look at the reality as it is. This is a genuine, sin of our world today. And not only in France.
Yeah, I think that just two things. First of all, you're absolutely right that tax havens and the idea that you can actually shut them all down is just make-believe, because there are, as you said, there's a tax haven in Delaware. There, the British run tax havens in the Virgin Islands and all over in the Isle of Man and so on. There are tax havens everywhere, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to shut them down. I think what's fascinating to me as a non-French person in this whole debate is that we're touching here on a real taboo in France, which is money. Money is obscene. Money's dirty. Money, the idea.
No, sex is dirty in your country.
Well, yes, exactly. Sex is dirty in the United States and England, and money's dirty in France. But the idea that people are so reluctant to say, oh, this is what I have, and it's just not done here.
Why should I do that? Why? I have my private life as well.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I fulfill a declaration. From now on, you've done that, Valérie, as well, where I've been asked, what are your children's position? I said, this is nothing of your business. And I refuse to answer
what
that.
What we're moving towards, which is interesting, is you're seeing people like Arnaud Montebourg sort of coming out with his declaration, and anybody who now earns or has more than him is going to be suspect. So there's a sort of a sense of wealth being bad, which is very interesting.
Valérie Rabault?
It's true that comparing to the US or the United Kingdom, money is a kind of taboo in France. I'm sorry.
Not for me.
Maybe not for you, but it's true that it's a part of the secret. We don't know what is behind. There is a part of secret which is, I think, less the case in the US and in the UK. But it does not prevent the UK and the US to have some tax evasion as well. So this is why we need to have, we need to have a global solution to tax evasion, to fiscal paradise, etc. And where I do not agree with you is when you say that the law the banking law that has been voted a few weeks ago would be too weak. France is the first country in the world asking its banks to publish every year what is the turnover in each country, the number of employees in each country. So if, let's say, an example...
In their affiliates. We're going to pick up on that point.
In annual report.
We have to take a quick break. We're going to pick up on that point when we come back.
Just after.
Stay with us. It's the France 24 debate.